Mariners win 13-1. They take the first game of the three-game set against the Baltimore Orioles, and they improve to 37-37 on the season. I'm not going to go over every single scoring play. As fun as that might be, Tom Murphy does hit a sacrifice fly in the second, so they get one in the second. They get four in the third. They get another in the fourth on a Teoscar Hernandez homer. Anthony Santander does hit a home run to right in the center off Logan Gilbert to make it 6-1, and the Mariners answer back with a 6 spot in the eighth inning. All of the runs scoring on singles. It was pretty fun to watch. Mariners bullpen takes care of the rest. Very, very fun game. If you're looking for some negatives, Julio struggled early on. Went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, but did get a hit and a walk. We'll take that. Kelnick struggled, struck out 3 times. Top of the lineup went 2 for 10 with 6 strikeouts. That's not great, but they both did reach a couple of times to kind of make up for it a little bit. That's pretty much it for negatives. Let's start with the positives, and let's start Logan Gilbert. Excellent bounce back. 7 innings, 2 hits. One of those hits was a home run. He only strikes out 5, but he had Baltimore off balance for most of the game. Did get a little fortunate. There was some hard contact that went right at guys. When Logan Gilbert's at his best, that kind of seems to be something that you see from him quite a bit. No complaints from what we saw from Logan Gilbert. An excellent start. Can he do it 2 or 3 times in a row? I know he's capable of doing it. We saw him do it a bunch in 2022. He's certainly capable of doing it. Can he do it in 2023? Because they need him to. We've talked about it a bunch. This team relies on its starting pitching probably more than any team in baseball, and I'll go as far as saying just does. So they need Logan Gilbert to have more of these type of games. I'm not asking for 7 innings of one-run baseball. A 1.29 ERA is extremely unrealistic, but it would be nice to see more 6-inning 2-run stuff, 6 innings 1 run, 7 innings 2 runs, that type of effort. More consistent basis. Topa, great in garbage time. Saucedo, solid in garbage time. Actually, probably reverse those and say Saucedo was great and whatever. Doesn't matter. As low leverage a situation as possible. And the offense was just unbelievably good tonight. Another 3 hits from Ty France. Another 3 hits from Teoscar Hernandez, who all of a sudden has Teoscar Hernandez-esque numbers. Not quite there yet, but the month of June has been spectacular. Rally with a couple of hits. Suarez with a 3-hit game, including a double. Tom Murphy with a 3 RBI game, homer and a double. Caballero reaches 3 times. I mean, this offense over the last 2 games, small sample though it may be, has been impressive. There's no denying. Scoring 23 runs over 2 games against playoff contending teams, dare I say World Series contending teams, is awesome to see. Now, can you do it on a more consistent basis? So far, the answer to that question is a big absolutely not. But these last 2 games have at least shown that they're capable of doing it. Just a really strong, fun game. These last 2 games have been just a wonderful reminder that, yeah, this team is flawed. Yeah, this is frustrating. Yeah, we'd like to see them play more consistently. But there's no denying the talent on this team. There is talent on this team. By the way, Colton Wong, also good for you getting an RBI. It looks like they may have taken a hit away from him because he went 1 for 4. I thought that there was a reach. Maybe they ruled an error. Who cares? It's nice to see some success for Colton Wong, considering just the atrocity he has been for most of the season. I'm not complaining about any results from him whatsoever. It is worth pointing out that Murphy's double, I'm going to point this out anytime anybody does anything against a position player, the double does come against a pitcher, a non-pitcher, excuse me. Well, technically a pitcher, but someone whose living is not made pitching. I was really hoping it was going to be Adam Frazier pitching. I joked about it on Twitter just because, I think we all had a little frustration with Adam Frazier when he was a Seattle Mariner. I think that's fair to say. Man, what a fun couple of games. What a hoot. What an absolute hoot these last couple of games have been. So, can you do this on a more consistent basis? Because if you can, you get right back into this thing real easy. So far, over a little less than half of the season, the answer to that question has been absolutely not. But it's not too late to change the answer to that question. Nothing's been written yet. Not in stone, anyway. Not in stone. Just looking at the wild card standings here, you're still quite a few teams back of, playing a round where you would be hosting games. But you're only 3 games back of that final wild card spot. The Yankees lose another one today. Toronto lost. Los Angeles lost. Boston is ahead of them, but probably scares me less than any of those teams. Baltimore's lost a couple in a row. Houston lost. Nobody's playing so great that you can't get back into this thing. I agree. Nobody has been so dominant that you can't do this. It's tough when you have this many teams ahead of you at the halfway point. It's not over. You could be frustrated as heck with how they've played. And if you gave up, at some point this year, I understand. Please leave me alone. I love you, whoever messaged me, but I don't have time for it. I lost my train of thought. Maybe I should go live so that you guys can remind me what I'm talking about. I was just saying that if you did, put the fork in them, it's fine. And if you probably shouldn't have your mind change if you did by 2 games. Although it is worth pointing out, they've improved their run differential by 20 runs over these last 2 games. The only wild card team that has a better run differential than them right now is Houston. Baltimore's plus 23, Toronto's plus 8, Los Angeles is plus 18, Boston's plus 25. Mariners are now plus 27. It's amazing what winning a couple of games by 20 runs will do for you. But this has been fun. These last couple of games have been real fun after not a lot of fun in those first 2 games against New York, just because the offense just looked so pathetic. So pathetic. Not tonight, and not the night before that, or technically, I guess. No, it was the night before that. I was thinking they had an off day on Thursday, but I had an off day on Thursday. I don't work on Thursdays. And that's what matters, right? No. No, it does not. So tomorrow, interesting pitching matchup. Dean Kramer against Bryce, not Bryson, Bryce Miller. 105 starts. Kramer's solid. He's had his ups and downs as a professional. He looked really good when he first came in, and then not so good for a lot of the beginning of 2022. Kind of bounced back. Might have the years wrong on that a little bit, but 8-3 record, good. Wins and losses though. 4.56 ERA tells you that you can get to him. You can get to him. I'm a little nervous because of how many runs they've scored. It's tough to be this good offensively 3 games in a row for anybody, but it's really tough when you're still rolling out a lineup that is not exactly murderer's row. But win that first one, and now you got a great chance to take this series. Got a great chance to end this road trip 3-3 and get to go play a goodness gracious awful Washington national team at home after that, and Tampa Bay. But we're not going to look that far ahead. But it is nice. It is nice to get these one, and it is nice to win these last 2 and look as good as they did doing it. And that's the biggest thing for me, folks, is Yeah, you want to be. I'd much prefer to see that the Mariners are 5 or 6 games over 500 or something like that right now, for sure. No question about it. But I want to see them pass the eye test. I want to feel confident in this team going forward. It's more fun when I feel confident, right? Like you can show me I am not an anti-analytic person by any stretch of the imagination. I think analytics are extremely important. You can argue whether they've made the game better or not. Maybe do a long video on how maybe teams have used analytics for the worse. Long story on that one. But I'm not an anti-analytic person. But I am also an eye test person. As a lot of you guys know, I've written about prospects for the last 15 years, 14 years, something like that. And I've certainly liked to dabble in prospect stuff since I was like 17, 18. It's always been something I've liked. So the eye test means something to me. And these last couple of days have been a nice little reminder that, oh, yeah, this team is talented. This team can compete with anybody. This team, when it's at its best, is pretty darn good. There are not teams that's true for. Kansas City at their best, terrible. Oakland at their best, still barely a Major League Baseball team. Washington at their best, pretty bad. Colorado at their best, still pretty bad. Mariners aren't that. Now, are they at their best as good as the Dodgers or the Astros or the Rays? Rays are actually a little interesting one. I'm not quite buying into the Rays just yet, but you can't deny their success so far. But anyway, my point being, the Mariners aren't quite in that upper echelon at their best, but they compete in the second tier and third tier for sure. There's probably only 5 or 6 teams that I can say are clearly better than the Seattle Mariners when they're at their best. And I know we've gone over this an awful lot. That's why I was so frustrated the Mariners didn't go aggressive this offseason, because you had a chance to put yourself in that category. You sure did. C'est la vie at this point. But it's nice to see them playing well and putting themselves in that position to be, at this point, they should be aggressive. I don't want to hear any talk about selling or any of that crap. And it's not just based on these last 2 games. It's based on the fact that there are enough flawed rosters in baseball right now that the Mariners can get into the postseason and do some damage once to do so. And that should be the expectation for the next few years. Good stuff. Follow me on Twitter at Crawford_MILB. Check out the Sports Sometimes podcast. You can find it anywhere podcasts are. I did the okay Google thing, and they played Sports Sometimes. I thought that was actually pretty cool, just because it's something I created. The RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcast I host every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. And my imminent arrivals piece is up on Wednesdays at rotowire.com. Definitely check that out. I would really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you guys subscribing and hitting like on this video as well. So, been an absolute blast. We've got a long way to go, but I talked about this on Twitter. I was raised a very appreciative guy, a person who says thank you a lot, and a person who apologizes a lot too. Might actually be Canadian. Don't know for sure, but I think there is some Canadian in me. But yeah, really fun win. And now you've got a chance to do some more damage and end this road trip on a very high note. And record.